We all love Gwen Stacy and Mayday Parker, but what about the Cinderella or the Fairy Spider-Woman? They deserve a moment in the spotlight too, and that is exactly what we are here to do right now. So 10, Spinstress. She is my favorite spider variant. I've talked about her so many times on this channel, and we are back at it again. She is literally Spider-Man but Cinderella, and her ball gown is a thing of dreams. A stunning twist on the classic Spider-Man myth, Petra brings a vibrant musical energy to the hero. Petra Parker got her spider powers from her fairy godmother so she could attend the ball and save her city, but there's of course a catch. She loses them at midnight, or she loses the ability to ever find love. And you can guess which choice she's stuck with. 9, White Widow. This is not Yelena. This White Widow was part of a fan movement turned canon. After the success of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, fans started creating their own Spider-Sonas. Marvel contacted some fans to showcase their Spider-Sonas in Spider-Verse Volume 3, and it was a really cool project, and many of those Sonas are now featured on this list, including White Widow. In addition to normal spider powers, she can coat herself, her webs, and gloves in toxins that she produces at will. 8, Spinster. Like Spinstress, Spinster also wears a really nice dress. She existed as a noblewoman in the era of the French Revolution, and her special spider ability is tied to her hair. Her hair is her webbing. She can extend it as far as she wants because the vibrations on the webs allow her to eavesdrop on conversations. I do wonder though that if this means she can feel whenever that someone like breaks her webbing, and I imagine that's probably not pleasant. But 7, Garden Spider. I know that I said Cinderella Spider-Woman was my favorite, but Garden Spider is a really close second. She's shrunk down to bug size. Petunia Parker spends her days living in her old garden, caring for her plants, living in her old watering can, and fighting off the villainous aphid. I imagine that she must have some sort of plant-based power because her flowers are doing really well for being cared for by someone who is less than 3 apples tall. Though little, she packs a serious punch and can take down villains nearly 10 times her size. 6, Star Spider. The Spider-Woman in space. Persephone Parker is Star Spider from Earth 1978, debuting in Edge of Spider-Verse 3. An apprentice to Professor Osborna, Persephone has her hands full juggling her quantum engineering internship, a secret relationship with Osborn's daughter, and of course her spider heroics. Assisted by and with an outfit created from nanobot Shi'ar technology called Spiders, Star Spider was able to fend off Octavius and the Kree army that were trying to invade her home. 5, Ren. Ren is Canadian, but she lives in Japan. Her unique extra power is the ability to control emotions. This stems from her desire to control her own emotions, often feeling extreme sadness. So now she can utilize this power to create extreme emotions in opponents to throw them off and give her an edge in battle. Her costume is reminiscent of the neon signs that light up Japan's night sky. 4, Cobweb. Okay, Fairy Spider-Man. Technically, she is a Seelie and based her Seelie glamour on Spider-Man, whom she is a big fan of. Me too, girl. She helped Spider-Man and friends save their friend in Central Park, and Spidey gave her his blessing to join the Spider Legacy as Spider Sprite. Cobweb has wings and spits her webbing from her mouth, which is such a choice, but you know, I'm not making it. 3, Web Witch. You can probably guess what additional abilities Web Witch is working with. After learning how to navigate the web of life and destiny, Maeve Z further developed her sorcery to carry cards capable of summoning any spider hero she has encountered across the multiverse. Each card bears the symbols of the spider person, and anytime she finds a world in peril, she just calls upon the right hero for the job. 2, Dream Spider. Crystal was friends with Peter Parker, and when the Peter of her world destroyed his dream construct, the fragments connected with Crystal, turning her into a spider person with dream-related powers, including access to the dream dimension and the ability to alter dreams. And a bonus addition, because she's like a ballerina puppet master Spider-Man, and leaving her off this list is a crime that I am not willing to commit. Spider Requiem, or Palomina Swan, first name inspired by the Greek muse of dance and last name likely Swan Lake. In addition to the usual spider powers, she has the ability to control these like puppets that she makes. Based on her spider name, I am inclined to believe that there is something supernatural and underworldly about those puppets. And finally, number 1, Spinner. Cassandra Kelly doesn't just have spider powers, she also got a boost from the goddess Athena. Really, the goddess was the one who blessed Spinner with her spider powers, in addition to clairvoyance, as you can see with the third eye on her suit, and the ability to weave light.
Number 10, Lady Spider. Lady Spider is an alternate version of Spider-Man who hails from from the Earth of 803. She was first introduced in Spider-Verse issue number 1 from 2014. Earth 803 is similar to our own history's turn of the century or Victorian period. Here, May Riley, aka Lady Spider, was the daughter of an accomplished inventor with a passion for various animals and insects. After her father's death, May decided to become a hero and created for herself a mechanical suit and web shooters, taking up the mantle of Lady Spider. She does not have any powers but is considered to be a spider totem and is able to fight against villains on her Earth using her suit and her equipment. I also just love her overall look, it's so cool. Number 9. Spider Bite. Spider Bite comes to us from Vault of Spiders issue number 1 from 2018. Her real name is Margot and she takes up the hero persona of Spider Bite in secret while immersed in cyberspace, a virtual reality world that humans, I assume in the future, frequent on a regular basis. It's like the internet, but if you could walk around in it and actually, like tap into it, experiencing it with a virtual avatar that is meant to represent you as opposed to just surfing it on your computer. It kind of reminds me of that episode of Adventure Time where they find that island full of people who are basically fed through tubes and plugged into a virtual reality Matrix-like world where they live out their day-to-day through virtual avatars that they can customize. I don't know if you've seen that episode, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty trippy. We haven't seen much of Spider-Bite yet in the comics, with her only appearing in 2 issues, but I really do hope we get to see more of her and her alternate futuristic world of Earth 22191. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list as much as I am loving giving it to you, please be sure to show us that love by giving this video a thumbs up. We also have a really awesome Spider-Man playlist, so if you have a hankering for Spider-Mans or Spider-Ladies, be sure to check that out. Spider-Folks, Spider Totems. Number 8. Spider-Girl. Anya Corazon got her powers through a spider tattoo after she was considered a powerful potential candidate for the Spider Society by one of their sorcerers, Miguel. The Spider Society is a secret society that has existed since 1099 AD. They worship and often seek to protect spider totems, those who are fated to become superpowered spider-like beings. That's what a spider totem is. Ezekiel Sims also belongs to the Spider Society, for example. Miguel believed that Anya had what it took to become one of their hunters, warriors who fought against the Sisterhood of the Wasp. Anya ended up getting caught in the midst of a fight looking to protect a stranger who happened to be the sorcerer Miguel. To save her life and seeing her potential, he transferred some of his power to her, giving her that spider tattoo as well as spider-like powers along with it. Number 7. SP//DR, or as I like to say, Spider. Aka Penny Parker. You might recognize Penny from the first Into the Spider-Verse film. She was introduced there as a young girl who inherited her father's spider-like mech suit, SP//DR, Spider, after he died. As the suit was made based on her father's genetics, it was believed that Penny was the only one to carry on his work with the mech. She allowed the radioactive spider connected to the suit's CPU to bite her so that she could bond with and control the suit alongside it. Penny was created by Gerard Way and Jake Wyatt and made her first appearance in 2014 in Edge of the Spider-Verse issue number 5, before showing up in the film 4 years later in 2018. Number 6. Spider-Man. Spider-Man has to be one of my favorite all-time alternate characters in the history of Marvel. I just love that she became a full-fledged hero in her own right, and that she helped to defeat the Inheritors the second time around while also deciding to raise all of the then-made baby versions of them. If anyone could make sure they grow up to be good and kind instead of murderous spider totem devouring villains, it's Aunt May. Spider-Man hails from Earth 3123 and comes from What If issue number 23 originally, where we asked the question what would happen if Aunt May had been bitten by a radioactive spider in the place of her nephew Peter Parker. And to be clear, that is What If issue 23 from the 1977 series. Not 89, if you're looking for it. Number 5. Venom. Not that Venom from Earth 616, this Venom from Earth X, aka Earth 9997. This version of Venom and alternate spider person is May Parker, the daughter of Mary Jane Watson Parker and Peter Parker. There is much we do not know about May's origins, but we do know that in her youth she was trained likely by the hero Daredevil, aka her uncle Matt, in the use of her spider sense in combat. Her relationship with her father was made more complicated when Venom left its aged host, Eddie Brock, and sought out May to try and use her as a weapon of revenge against Peter Parker, still holding a grudge against Spider-Man for rejecting the symbiote years ago. Venom was like, I remember all these grudges, I don't let them go. Fortunately, May's willpower was so strong that she was able to bend the symbiote to her will, allowing her to take control of it and use it for her own heroic means, instead of it corrupting her. Number 4. Madam Web. Julia Carpenter has been known by a few different spider-centric names over the years when it comes to her heroics. Initially we knew her as Spider-Woman, but she would later take up the mantle of Arachne before becoming Madam Web, and receiving the precognitive and telepathic abilities of Cassandra Webb as she passed away. Julia Carpenter originally got her spider-like abilities when she was unknowingly experimented on. She had volunteered to be part of what she thought was a medical athletic-based study. However, in reality, the government was really experimenting on her to try and create their own superhero. Julia Carpenter also has a daughter named Rachel, though we haven't really seen her for a while in the comics. I hope she's doing okay. Number 3. Spider-Woman. Thank goodness not everyone on this list is known as Spider-Woman, because that would make it really confusing. Though this hero is someone that you would probably still associate with the name Spider-Girl, as it was a mantle she had for many years in the comics. However, May Parker, the daughter of Mary Jane Watson Parker and Peter Parker from Earth 982, is all grown up now, hence her taking on the mantle of Spider-Woman instead. May, nicknamed Mayday Parker, is the first child of MJ and Peter, but also has a clone, named April Parker, who joined the family as a stand-in cousin, and May also has a younger brother known as Ben. I always wondered if Peter just comes up with all the names for their kids, or what's going on there. I have to assume though that MJ must just really be on board with naming her kids after Peter's aunt and uncle, as in almost all alternate realities, that's what ends up happening. I don't even know, does MJ just not want to name people after her family? I guess her family history is pretty weird and dramatic, so maybe that's why. She has mixed feelings about her family members. Number 2. Ghost Spider. While Gwen Stacy might be dead and gone in the reality of Earth 616, on the reality of Earth 65, she was the one who received spider-like abilities, while her good friend Peter Parker was the one to die, becoming the reluctant villain known as the Lizard before being killed. Peter had looked up to Spider-Woman as she was originally known when she first came on the scene. He wanted to be a hero like her, but instead ended up as a monstrous creature, oh no, becoming the Lizard after experimenting on himself. Gwen of Earth 65 has been known as Spider-Woman, Venom, Spider-Gwen, and more recently took up the mantle of Ghost Spider in the comics. Number 1. Spider-Woman. One of my all-time favorite spider heroes. And also yes, the second Spider-Woman on this list, but hey, a lot of people go under the mantle Spider-Woman, as I said. Jessica Drew has a super weird and kind of complicated story when it comes to her origins, especially as time has gone on and we've learned more about it. But I don't know if we consider it weirder than her original origins, which was that she was a woman who used to be a spider. That's a pretty weird story. I am gonna say it's almost at that level though, with there being secret plots seemingly behind all of what went on with her birth and her childhood, and her being experimented on as a child. However, when her origins was shifted initially to her being a sick child who was saved with a serum based off of spider DNA, it was a lot less twisty and bizarre. It's actually almost kinda nice. Ugh, I don't know though, it's pretty weird, still pretty weird. All of her origins are weird. Especially as she did still spend pretty much all of her childhood inside a stasis tube, in essence skipping all of those developmental stages and then emerging as a fully grown, naive, and superpowered adult later on in her life. Fully cured, but now having spider-like powers. Basically like a child who just fast forwarded to an adult, but then you didn't actually get to experience a childhood, so what would that be like? I feel like you'd be kinda messed up from that. Jessica has been a member of the Avengers, a pal of Wolverine's, and has fought alongside her fellow spider alternates from the Spider-Verse. All around, she's just a cool lady. And now it is time for an honorable mention! Someone who wasn't on this list, but in a weird way is also a female Spider-Man alternate, is everyone's favorite actress, redhead, and Spider-Man confidant, Mary Jane Watson. Mary Jane is not a permanent spider hero in the reality of Earth 616, but she has fought by Peter's side before in his Iron Spider suit, and on the Earth of 18119 as the spider-themed hero Spinneret. There she fights alongside her family full-time pretty much, including her husband Peter Parker aka Spider-Man and their daughter Annie Parker aka Spider-Ling. I'm a sucker for a good family of heroes.
Number 10. Spider-Ling. Also known as Anna May Parker, she first appeared in 2015 in Spider-Man's Renew Your Vows storyline as part of the Secret Wars event. She is the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. When the multiverse is destroyed by incursions and recreated as Battleworld, she finds herself living in a domain known as the Regency. This place is dominated by Regent, an evil mastermind on a mission to eliminate all superheroes and steal their powers. Growing up, she develops spider powers of her own, causing her parents to fear that she will one day be hunted. She actually is hunted down later and kidnapped by Venom, who recently escaped from prison. The epic confrontation that follows ends with Spider-Man bringing a burning building crashing down on Venom, presumably killing him. Ooh, Daddy Spider-Man is protective. Later in life, Anna confronts the villain Mole Man on her own while her parents are busy arguing about their daughter being a superhero. The Parker trio goes on to defeat the villain together, and Peter names her Spiderling. She has the same sense of responsibility as Peter, but with Mary Jane's headstrong attitude. Number 9. Spider-Girl. First appearing in one of Marvel's What If storylines, number 7, in 1978, Betty Brant was a newly hired employee at the Daily Bugle. Attending a scientific demonstration with her colleagues, she winds up in the same lab Peter Parker is visiting with his classmates. A radioactive spider drops down and lands on Betty's hand, resulting in her being bit instead of Peter. Concerned for Betty, Peter convinces Jameson to let her take the day off, and he invites her out to dinner. Later, the two of them discover Betty has developed spider powers, and Pete inspires her to take up crime fighting so he can take some pictures and sell them to the Bugle. Jameson, of course, only uses the photos to start a smear campaign about Spider-Girl being a menace. The two later fail to stop a burglar, who goes on to kill Peter's Uncle Ben. Betty is horrified by this and resolves to abandon her identity as Spider-Girl. Hey guys, before I get on to the next one, please take a second to hit that like button. It really helps us out here at Top 10 Nerd. Number 8. Penny Parker. You might recognize her from the Spider-Verse film, but Penny actually made her debut in 2014 in Marvel's Edge of the Spider-Verse, number 5. When she was 9 years old, her father died, the original pilot of the 900-pound spider suit. She learns from her Uncle Ben and Aunt May that she's the only one who can take his place, and allows herself to be bitten by the radioactive spider that powers half of the suit's CPU. 5 years later, Mysterio begins infecting the people of New York with a hallucinogenic gas, and it's Penny who shows up and dispatches him, later working alongside Daredevil. She also later joins the Spider Army, recruited by Peter Porker and Old Man Spider on a subway ride home. Penny is Japanese and a vegetarian. Her superpowered suit pays homage to classic mecha anime, and some of her classmates' names are actually references to popular shows. Number 7. Spider-Woman. First appearing in Marvel's Spotlight number 32 in 1977, Jessica Drew grew up in a small cottage with her father, Jonathan Drew. John found uranium in large amounts on the property and went on to build a research facility, performing controversial studies in genetics and cell regeneration. Eventually, little Jessica becomes poisoned from the constant uranium exposure, and John injects her with an untested serum made with the blood of several uncommon species of spiders, and you'll never guess what kind of powers she gets. He seals her in a genetic accelerator while she undergoes a transformation, and she stays in stasis for decades, her aging greatly slowed. Now, as a fully grown woman with hardly any life experience, she wastes no time getting into trouble. Her first romance ends in tragedy when she accidentally kills her boyfriend, and later is manipulated by Mentalo into joining Hydra. Hoping to mold her into an assassin, sends her off to assassinate Nick Fury. She refuses and fights back against her masters, eventually escaping and starting a new life as a friendly neighborhood bounty hunter, Spider-Woman. She later finds herself dubbed the Dark Angel of San Francisco, swinging around the city and solving crimes just like the real Spidey. Number 6. Spider-Gwen. Raised by George Stacy alone after her mother died, her free spirit and creativity often clashed with her father's rigid attitude. She became friends with Peter Parker and formed a band with her classmates known as the Mary Janes. After being bitten by a genetically engineered spider, she gained spider powers and became known as Spider-Woman. Peter Parker, desperate to be like his idol Spider-Woman, conducts an experiment on himself that turns him into a monstrous lizard-like beast, and Gwen winds up beating the snot out of him, resulting in his death. This leaves her branded a criminal by the city, and the guilt of Peter's death hangs heavy over her head. She doubles her efforts to fight crime, eventually having her identity uncovered by her father. At one point, she travels to another universe and meets a version of Peter Parker that became the Goblin, overwhelmed by rage at not being able to save his universe's version of Gwen Stacy. She attempts to recruit him into the Spider Army, but he refuses. Later, when she reveals that she's actually an alternate Gwen Stacy, he sacrifices himself to save her like he wishes he could have in his own dimension. Number 5. Silk. First appearing in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3 in 2014, Cindy Moon was born with an eidetic memory. At a scientific demonstration, the radioactive spider that gave Peter Parker his powers also bit her in the ankle. The first use of her powers was actually when she got home and accidentally webbed up her parents. She is then taken away by Ezekiel Sims, who locks her away to protect her from Morlun, the devourer of totems. He's on an interdimensional mission to basically kill every single version of Spider-Man. Good luck, am I right? So yeah, she's locked away in this tower with a whole bunch of books and tapes and stuff, and she stays there willingly to keep herself safe. Spider-Man finds out about this at some point, and he comes along to rescue her. She improvises a sweet costume made of webs, and the two immediately begin an intimate relationship. You can only imagine what a mess that would make. They make a pretty good team though, and later go up against Electro together. She once even saved Spider-Man from being unmasked by the Black Cat on live television. Number 4. May Parker. May is the daughter of Mary Jane and Peter in a future alternate universe. She first appeared in What If Volume 2, number 105. When Peter Parker loses a leg in an intense battle against Green Goblin, Spidey decides to focus more on being a father and decides to keep his past from his daughter. Unfortunately, she develops her own spider powers similar to his at the age of 15. She has a few adventures of her own before her parents discover her dual identity, but Pete and Mary Jane are supportive of her crime-fighting passion. She later goes on to help S.H.I.E.L.D. battle against Carnage, and once encounters a clone of herself. She later assists the Web Warriors and the Superior Spider Army. Number 3. Spider-Bitch. First appearing in Wolverine Volume 3, number 67 in 2008, she is technically Peter Parker's granddaughter, with her parents being Hawkeye and Tanya Parker. She's super badass, and I love her costume. She is from a future alternate reality where Kingpin rules over Hammer Falls, a future version of Las Vegas. She gathers up a team of heroes and attempts to take control of the area, but ends up being captured by Kingpin and set to be executed. Her father, Hawkeye, helps her to break free and is shocked when she ends up killing Kingpin in her rage and then attempts to kill Papa Hawkeye as well. She eventually embraces her legacy and becomes Spider-Girl, later recruited by Superior Spider-Man into the Spider Army. She ultimately survives in the end and returns to her home dimension. Number 2. Lady Spider. Appearing in Spider-Verse number 1 in 2014, May Riley's father kept numerous animals in his study, including a spider. One day, May opened up the cage, believing the spider to be upset about being held captive, and she got bit. It was actually just a normal spider. Later on in life, her father dies and she builds a super suit with mechanical arms and mechanical web shooters, becoming the Lady Spider. She has 3 university degrees and is the only female student in her field. She first used her suit to rescue the mayor from Electro, and when the 6 men of the Sinistry arrive, led by Green Goblin, she holds them off, forcing them to retreat. And now number 1. Spider-Man. In Marvel's What If number 23, released in 1980, we meet the amazing Spider-Man, also known as Aunt May. When her nephew Peter Parker forgets his lunch at home, a concerned May Parker rushes off to a science demonstration to make sure he gets it. He's a growing boy. There, she is bitten by a radioactive spider, which gave her spider powers. I'm serious. May first uses her power to earn some money for her family doing stunts, but later defeats the villain Leapfrog and becomes a real crime fighter. When the Master Weaver Karn shows up in her universe on his relentless hunt to kill anyone who possesses spider powers, she heroically surrenders herself to save her family. Also known as Spider Lady, or sometimes just Granny, May is later recruited into the Spider Army during the Spider-Geddon event, to battle against the Inheritors on the Marvel Prime universe. In the end, the evil Inheritors are defeated by transferring their consciousness into infant human babies, which May actually adopts and takes back to her universe. Truly your friendly neighborhood aunt.